Hey folks, it's Rob from Rob's Movie Collection, and today is Ray Harryhausen's birthday. He would have been 100 years old. Those of you who don't know who Ray Harryhausen was, he was a stop-motion animator, the best in the business. He brought to life so many amazing creatures and characters throughout his movies, and he's been a huge influence on the modern day special effects technicians and artists. If you see any of the modern day films today, any creatures or those CGI creatures, they're all influenced by Harryhausen and his creatures. And if you're familiar with his films, you can actually see in the modern films the similarities. Every time there's a documentary about him, and there's a lot of documentaries about him, so I'm not going to go into his life or anything, but every time there is one of those, there are all these interviews with all these people who were influenced by him, not just the special effects guy, but directors and actors and all kinds of people in the industry. So, as I said, I'm not going to go into a biography on him. What I'm going to do is, as you can probably tell from the title, my top 20 favorite Harryhausen creatures. He never liked to call them monsters. He always called them creatures. Now, originally I was going to do my top Ray Harryhausen movies, which I may still do at some point in the future. But for now, I'm going to go with the favorite creatures. So, let's get started. At number 20, I have the crab from the movie Mysterious Island. Mysterious Island is a 1961 movie based on the Jules Verne novel about a bunch of people during the Civil War era who end up escaping in a balloon and are stranded on an island, which is mysterious. And they encounter a bunch of creatures and different situations. So, during this time, they encounter this huge crab. Those of you who are familiar with Harryhausen, you know the story about how they bought some crabs and they hollowed out one and turned it into a stop-motion model. Combined with Bernard Herrmann's amazing score, he always did a lot of these movies, this creature was fantastic. It was very scary. I remember watching it as a kid, and I couldn't eat shellfish after that for a while. I thought it would come to life and attack me. But it's a great creature. And is always very well animated. At number 19, I have the giant octopus from It Came From Beneath the Sea. Some might call it a kraken. That's actually what a kraken is. It's a giant octopus. Famous story. Again, those of you who know Harryhausen, of course, you know the story of how these early black and white ones had very low budgets, and they couldn't afford 8 tentacles, so they made it with 6. They made the model with 6, and he just hid 2 of them in the water. Very clever, that Harryhausen guy. This is a creature that you don't really see much of altogether until near the end of the film, and most of the time you just see the tentacles, but go figure. I mean, there's a lot of personality in just those tentacles. That's Harryhausen. That's what he was able to bring that made him different from everyone else. Great creature. At number 18, I have the Homunculus from The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. I have heard it referred to as a homuncus as well, but it's actually a homunculus. I don't know. Either way, it's a tiny little guy with bat wings. In this movie, it's one of the Sinbad movies, the second Sinbad movie, in fact. Tom Baker, future Doctor Who, is an evil wizard, and he creates this homunculus that kind of stands in for him and his eyes and ears so he can spy on Sinbad and the good guys. And it's just the best scene with it when he brings it to life. They actually devote a whole scene to when he brings it to life, because he makes a lot of these, and they end up being killed by Sinbad, you know. But every time he needs to spy, he makes one. So they have this great scene where he's actually making it, and it's you can really see Harryhausen's talent right there. This little creature, not even a close-up of his face, really, and but it's got a lot of personality in just the way it moves and hesitates and all. And again, that was, you know, Harryhausen. And also Caroline Munro's in this movie. I just thought I'd mention it because, you know, it's Caroline Munro and she looks like this. So you know. At number 17, I have Kasim. This is from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. This is 1977. This is the third Sinbad movie. Kasim is a baboon, I believe. And in the movie, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen this movie and want to see it. It is from 1977, so it's kind of an old film. But a prince is cursed and turned into a baboon. Now, a lot of people actually, believe it or not, in 1977 thought that this was a real baboon that had been trained to play chess and do all the things that he does in the film. But it's a pretty amazing animation. This is kind of Harryhausen's milieu. I mean, this guy was influenced by King Kong, and he worked on Mighty Joe Young, and also he brings a lot of expression to Kasim, not only in his face, but just in his personality and the way he moves. It's, again, that was Ray Harryhausen. Oh, and also, again, Jane Seymour was in this movie, and she was dressed like this, so, you know. Hey, what do you want? I'm a big Jane Seymour fan. At number 16, we've got the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I believe he's called the Redosaurus. Is it Redosaurus? Whatever that is. But he's the Beast. So this is one of the black and white films, although you can find colorized versions now, which I don't really care for. But this came out in, I think, 1953, 54. This movie actually influenced the creation of Godzilla. So thank you, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Movie based on a Ray Bradbury short story. One of the things that really shows Ray Harryhausen's technique and what he brings to it. There's a scene where, you know, the creature is going through the streets and he's shot at by a cop and all this stuff. And at one point he crushes a car and just kind of swats it afterwards. That's Ray Harryhausen right there, because most people would just, you know, they just step on it and go along. But Harryhausen always added those little personality traits to his creatures. So even though these aren't animals that always have big expressions, near human expressions on their face, like say a baboon or an ape, you can still see a little personality in the way they move and the things that they do. And at number 15, we're back to the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. And, oh yeah, that's Caroline Munro again. Okay, like, do you care that I'm showing Caroline Munro again? No, of course you don't. Okay. Well, let's get to the Centaur. The Centaur from Golden Voyage of Sinbad. This guy, you know, you all know what a Centaur is, and this guy's got one eye. And in the film, he kidnaps the lovely Caroline Munro, and can you blame him? And, of course, ends up fighting with Sinbad, played by John Philip Law. The Centaur is a great creature, and he ends up having this epic battle with a griffin in the movie, and it's really, really great, really awesome. You can see Ray Harryhausen's signature move. He's got this shoulder move that the creature does when he has these bipedal, well, not bipedal, but mostly creatures that have shoulders. They kind of throw their shoulders back. It's a very Ray Harryhausen move. At number 14, I've got Gwangi from the Valley of Gwangi. This is a very different movie. This is a dinosaur western. It's got cowboys and a T-Rex. I can't think of another movie that's like that. I remember when I was very young, I really desperately wanted to see this movie. And this is back before any home media, before even VHS. So there was no way to see it unless it was either in a movie theater or on TV, and for me in the 70s it was TV. I remember one night they were showing it at 2 a.m. and I stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch it, and all the way to 4 o'clock with all the commercials and stuff, and I've never regretted it, because it was just awesome to see this T-Rex being roped by cowboys and all. It's essentially it's the King Kong story, really. This is from a story or idea that was written by Willis O'Brien, the guy who did King Kong, and Harryhausen took it over after O'Brien passed away. But yeah, it's a great movie, and a great T-Rex. I always remember Gwangi. At number 13, we've got Trog from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. He's You guessed it, a troglodyte. And but they call him Trog. And yeah, he shows up. He's I think they're in a place called Hyboria, and he's kind of a man's ancestor, and he's bigger than your normal human being. But he shows up there, and oh, that's right, Jane Seymour. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah, this is an example of one of those characters that, I mean, did he really need to be animated? I mean, look at him. He's basically a guy, and you could have done that in makeup, and you put a horn on an actor, and you just size him up a little big with special effects, and he's fine. And that's often the case in a lot of the modern day movies. I'll watch something and they'll have giants or a Cyclops or something. I think, well, why is this a CG character? There's no point in it. But of course, this is Ray Harryhausen, and he brought so much personality to this character that you really like him. And he's just in a small portion of the film at the end, and he ends up fighting the saber-toothed tiger. And spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the film. Unfortunately, he ends up being killed by the saber-tooth. And I remember thinking, oh, that sucked. Nobody liked that. Everybody wanted Trog to survive. And that's a credit to Ray Harryhausen and what a good job he did with his personality and making him likable. At number 12, we've got Pegasus from Clash of the Titans, the real Clash of the Titans, from 1981. Pegasus, of course, is Zeus's winged stallion who carries Perseus through his adventure to save Andromeda from the giant creature, the Kraken. Or at least in this movie, he's called the Kraken. Clash of the Titans, of course, was Ray Harryhausen's final film, and the only one in which he had help with the animation. He designed Pegasus and did some of the animation, but even he credits that most of the Pegasus animation, especially the flying stuff, was done by Jim Danforth, who is another very accomplished stop-motion animator in the film business. I love the way Pegasus looks when he's flying. He could have just been flying with his legs kind of out like that, but they actually make him gallop in midair, like he's kind of not sure that he's a bird or a horse, and but I always thought that was very cool. It looks really neat when he's in mid-flight. And at number 11, from what many believe to be the best Ray Harryhausen film, Jason and the Argonauts, I've got Talos, the giant metal guardian. Talos was amazing because he is meant to be made out of bronze, I believe. And he comes to life, and Harryhausen animates him in a way where he's kind of stiff and moves really slow, but that's part of the character. I'm sure if they remade this today, he'd be like really fast or something, or he'd be running around like a transformer. But that was the whole point, is that he was really, really slow like that. Again, that goes to show Harryhausen's talent. There's no expression on his face, so no change there because he's made out of metal. But when he dies, when they stop him and he dies, he kind of grabs his throat, and in his dying moments, and it's very dramatic and all. And again, Harryhausen. And at number 10, I've got the dragon from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. I think he has a name, but I don't think it's an official name. I think someone just gave him that name. But anyway, he's the big green dragon from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. This is one of the first movie dragons I ever saw as a kid, and I just thought he was awesome. And he even has a big fight with one of the Cyclopses in the movie. Great character, and even breathes fire, which is kind of hard to do when you're animating something if you know anything about stop motion animation, at least back in those days. Very cool dragon. For number 9, we go back to Jason and the Argonauts, and we've got the Hydra, the 7-headed Hydra that guards the Golden Fleece, which Jason stole. Let's face it, he steals it from these people. And boy, check this thing out. I mean, the 7 heads moving back and forth. This is why this is considered probably the best of Harryhausen's films. It's got these very complicated creatures, and we'll get to the other one soon enough. But yeah, the Hydra, just with all those heads moving back and forth like that, that was amazing. And again, if they made it today, this thing would be super fast, you know, like the modern day Medusa that they made. But I love this thing. It's very cool and very creepy and scary. And at number 8, we go back again to the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Here's Caroline. And oh my God, that's a great idea. The Ladies of Ray Harryhausen movies. Ooh, that's how's that for a top 10 list? Hey, that might work. A little pervy, but you know, if you want that, leave it in the comments. But I digress again. Kali was also a lady of a sort. The statue of Kali brought to life by the evil wizard Tom Baker, who in this movie is called Kura, which sounds a lot like Sakura. Whatever. Yeah, when this thing comes to life, it's great. It's got Harrison's really good at this sort of thing. A lot of different heads moving, different arms, that sort of thing. And I love it when it brings out the swords, and then just kind of like faces Sinbad, and you know, it's almost like a robot. It's almost like a robot. It's a great fight. My God, try to keep track of all this that's going on with all the arms and, you know, choreographing this. It's amazing to watch, and very exciting scene. At number 7, I've got the Amir from 20 Million Miles to Earth. Oh, the poor Amir. I feel so bad for him. Another kind of Kong-like story, one of the early black and white sci-fi movies. This creature crash lands on Earth and then is treated pretty badly by humans, and he's really just kind of lost. And I think there's always been a little sympathy for the Emir, this poor guy. But yeah, this creature's again a lot of personality in the way he looks kind of scared at times, you know, and it's the hesitancy and the body language that Ray Harryhausen brings to his creatures that kind of expresses a lot of their emotions. And yeah, poor Amir. But he made it to number 7 on my list. At number 6, I've got Booboo the Owl from, again, Clash of the Titans. This is kind of what's lacking in a lot of modern day films. They get so dark, and they forget to have a little comic relief because, you know, all the young generation just loves to throw around the word cringy. Well, I did like that in the Clash of Titans remake. They did have a little kind of a momentary scene where they did a little homage to poor Booboo. But I love the fact that he's. I love it when Harryhausen animates an object or a creature made out of an object like metal, like he did with Talos, and in this case, the metal of the gods that Booboo is made out of. But I think he's a great character, very helpful in the film, of course. And I love the sound effects that come with him. And I love Booboo. I don't care what anyone says. Yay, Booboo. And at number 5, I've got Mighty Joe Young. This was Ray Harryhausen's opportunity to kind of do Kong. I believe this was a project by Willis O'Brien. He was the special effects supervisor. And at this point, Ray Harryhausen was his assistant. He was assistant animator to him. But he had, you know, you can see a lot of Harryhausen's technique in there, like when Joe kind of like gets frustrated and he smacks the floor with his fist. Yeah, it's really great. I love Mighty Joe Young. They actually did make a remake, a modern day remake, which I enjoyed. I thought it was pretty good. And Harryhausen had a cameo in it, and so did Terry Moore, who plays the girl in this one. But of course, the original is always the best one. And yeah, it's great. Mighty Joe Young is fantastic. And what I liked about it as a kid was that the ending was a little more positive than King Kong, or actually, more to the point, more positive than the ending to Son of Kong, because I didn't like the ending to Son of Kong. That one really bummed me out, but this one was great. At number 4, it's Clash of the Titans again. Release the Kraken. Yes, the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. Now, Of course, the Kraken is not a Greek mythology thing. I think it's more like it's a giant octopus, like the giant octopus in Pirates of the Caribbean. I believe that the creature was called, in the mythology, was called a cetus or cetus, something like that. And it was like, you see old drawings of it, and it was like the size of a hippo or something. So you can't blame Harryhausen for kind of like scaling it up a bit and making it a little more exciting. That's Greek mythology. There's so many different tell-ins that you kind of go off on your own anyway. And thank God he did, because this thing is pretty awesome. The way it comes out of the water, it's very dramatic. He was always very good at that sort of thing. The Kraken was one of the Titans in the Clash of the Titans, the other being Medusa, where Perseus attempts to save Andromeda. A great character, and again, one of those characters that really only fully appears at the end of the film. But up to that point, you're hearing about it and hearing what's going to happen, and that's the motivation for the adventure in the film. And when it finally comes out, boy, Harryhausen delivers, absolutely. At number 3, it's Jason and the Argonauts with, yes, you guessed it, the skeletons. The 7 skeletons, the children of the Hydra's teeth. In the film, after he fights the Hydra, the wizard in the movie burns it and picks up the teeth, and these creatures come from the teeth of the dead Hydra. This is probably Harryhausen's most famous sequence. I mean, just look at it. You got 7 skeletons moving all at the same time. Reportedly, it took him like 4 months to do this, which I thought was like, wow, that's all? Only 4 months? He's pretty fast. He's pretty good. But an amazing sequence. When you watch this movie, you see this sequence, and then you backtrack and watch it again. Even when I had it only on VHS, I would rewind the VHS, which was a harder thing to do back in those days, and watch it again, because it's just an amazing sequence. It goes so fast, and you just want to watch it over and over again. This is definitely his most amazing sequence. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why is it number 1? Well, I've got my reasons, and everybody's got their favorites, and I'm sure on a lot of people's lists, this would be number 1. But Ray Harryhausen and skeletons, hey, that was his jam. At number 2, we're back to Clash of the Titans again, and boy, what a good reason. We've got Medusa. Amazing Medusa. Now, a lot has been said comparing this original version of Medusa to the Medusa in the remake, and most people tend to like this one because it's just got more personality, and it's got more. Everything today is super fast. You can never slow down for it. This one's got a lot of ambience, a lot of personality. Harryhausen took the character of Medusa, which up to this point had been always portrayed kind of just as a woman in a dress with snakes in her hair. Often a beautiful woman, which I believe in the mythology might have actually been like that. But he made it more visual, and he gave her the snake body and the kind of ugly face and all that stuff. So much of an influence that pretty much after 1981, most depictions of Medusa in one way or another kind of follow this version with the snake body and all that, because it was so prevalent and so well done. All these lights and this atmosphere and the flickering lights from the fire, not an easy thing to do with stop motion animation. If you know anything about stop motion animation and how it works, this was a challenge. This one was hard. This one almost made number 1 for me. It came very close, but not close enough for the Cyclops from the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. There's something about the Cyclops that just, maybe it's a nostalgia thing, maybe it's just a kid thing. I always loved and love the Cyclops. I love the way he walks. I love his personality. I love just, the image of him, cooking one of the sailors and kind of looking at him in that close-up when he's looking straight at the sailor as he's roasting on the stick there, and he looks hungry, and I think he even licks his lips at one point. It's just great. And this is a situation, where the reason that he's animated is because, he purposely made him like with the goat legs and all that, which isn't something that you often find in Cyclopses and depictions of them. But he previously did that so people would not think that this might be a guy in a costume. You know, this is animated, and it's just an amazing creature. And I love the roar. I love the sound effect. You know, when he roars, and this guy's not one of those monsters that just appears for a scene and then is killed or disappeared. Because fortunately, there's a lot of Cyclops on this island, so he does get killed at one point, but then another one pops up. So I love the Cyclops. Definitely my favorite of all of Ray Harryhausen's creatures. The Cyclops from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. He's just amazing. This is a scene that I watch a lot over and over again. He ends up fighting that dragon that I mentioned earlier, and it's just a great creature. I love him. Okay, that's it for my list. My top 20 Ray Harryhausen creatures in honor of Ray Harryhausen's 100th birthday. Whenever I make these videos, I always say the same thing. It may not be officially a tag video, but I would love to pass this on. Make your own video, especially if you're a Ray Harryhausen fan. Just make a video and tell me what your top 20 favorites are. Let me know about it. I'll definitely comment on it. I would love to hear the variety and what every person likes and what is their favorite. And yeah, boy, I really should think about that Ladies of Ray Harryhausen movie thing, huh? Yeah, well, maybe I will work on that next. I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And like I say, keep watching those Ray Harryhausen movies. All right. See ya.